My name's Rob Hodgson, 42 years old. My job is a clinical specialist for a company called Ossur, and we are a prosthetic provider for artificial limbs. I was over in New York for some training and a conference over there. And then on the way back, I fell ill, so just some coughing and not feeling great. Around probably 8 months later, I was doing some exercise. I just started to feel really dizzy, like I was about to pass out. Diagnosed me with dilated cardiomyopathy. So that was quite a shock. And then one night I got multiple shocks and I thought that was it, but I was gone. They realised this is a lot worse than we thought, and we're looking at heart transplant.
There were a lot of things that I had to really be focused on at that time, and obviously that was Rob and keeping him alive. I was doing everything from being very particular about the foods he was eating, or like getting the kids to and from school. So I couldn't really focus on anything else. So I think the biggest compliment is like, I don't actually remember, I just remember all this help starting to come in.
Workers' compensation is so important, particularly for workers. If they sustain an injury at work or illness, they're actually supported. We have been helping injured workers and employees for over 110 years to get their lives back. And Rob is one of the many stories of people that we've worked very closely with. When you see someone have a serious injury and their family wraps their arms around them, in my opinion and experience of being in the industry for 20 years, it's such a critical point in terms of how the family will move forward together as a family unit.
When you're going through something like that as a carer, people are always asking you, what do you need? And you don't really know. And to be honest, Greg anticipated most of those things. The house cleaning, the gardening, the indoor trainer, the weights, everything has absolutely helped us solely focus on Rob's recovery.
The first time speaking to Amanda, I recognised pretty quickly that she's definitely been the support that Rob needed. But it was also very clear and very evident that she also needed some support too. This is the worst time in someone's life. And if you can make that time just that little bit easier by preempting what it is that they're looking for, you're able to get ahead of them.
My goal was to get back to work and get back to life. I find it very rewarding what I do, and getting back to work in conjunction with being able to do my exercise, even at a low capacity to start with. Those two together really helped.
Rob's role was, and still is, to go out and educate and work with our customers to try to help them get the best results with our products. We say that we're trying to get people to live a life without limitations. And with Rob's case, to be like in principle as a company like this, it's your mission to stand behind that.
The employer is the first port of call. Their level of support for an injured worker is so critical in terms of the next stages around what support they can provide, them communicating with the insurer, and in this case EML, and with the injured worker. And really all the injured worker needs, particularly in the early stages, is the assurance that their employer is there behind them.
When you've got people like him, you know, these are people that you want to support. It's the right thing to do.
If work and email hadn't figured that out to start with, we didn't even really think to ask to put it under work cover, because we're just, you get on with it kind of people. But if that wasn't in place, and we know a lot of people whose lives have been affected by illness or injury, and the difference it's made in our lives compared to theirs and the level we've been able to get back to as quick as we have, I think that's the difference. Like, I think the support with that in terms of timeline and probably level of recovery, that's the point of difference.
Yeah. Later this year, in October, there's the Australian Transplant Games, which I'll be doing cycling in as well. And then aiming for the World Transplant Games next year in Germany. Training hard for it at the moment. It's feeling good to be able to do that stuff again for sure.